Everyone, Caleb with the Antique Book Collective, and today I'm getting to you guys with the craziest estate sale ever. One of my best hauls. So this is, of course, not the craziest estate sale ever, but it is the craziest one that I've ever had. And there are a lot of reasons for that. I'm going to dive into it more. But if you guys really want to see what all this estate sale was about, I'd encourage you to check out the other videos in the description as well. I did 4 videos all on this one estate sale weekend where I just hit 2 estate sales, and I had a great time getting some great books. I had a really good weekend. So the other videos are my weekend book haul, picking the right estate sales got me over $1,000, and how I found the best estate sales near me. And in those things, I basically just dive into the books that I got roughly, and then how I got all the money and that sort of side of things, and then how I found these different estate sales and how I picked them over the other estate sales that were going on near me. So that's something that's really important to anyone that's not just doing antique books like me. I'm just doing antique books, but like for anyone in general, that's something that's really important, is picking the right estate sales. So I hope that really encourages you to check out that one especially, but the other ones are really important as well if you are interested in any of this. So of course, I am just an eBay reseller. I sell antique books. I sell other books as well sometimes, but antique books is really my focus because that's where I have found most of my money is. That's where most of my profits are. So yeah, it's something that I recommend everyone else checks out, because antique books really do have a lot of profit built into them, and people don't sell them for very much money. Like, we are talking 10 times return on your books, like as a minimum for me most of the time, because I buy my books for I buy my books for like at most $2 99% of the time. Sometimes, like with this sale, I branch out and I spend a little bit more, but I'm still making very good money. So that's something that I, again, really encourage you to check out my other videos that are linked to this one, and also my whole channel. So if you are interested in those kinds of profits, you can subscribe. And I talk about antique books like incessantly on this channel. That's what it's all about. So I really encourage you to check that out. So with that said and done, though, let me just dive right on into why this estate sale was so good. So it was so good because it was done by a good company for estate sales. So you will find that there are different estate sale companies in your area that some do really well, some are a little meh, and some just are terrible. Some of them are terrible because they charge too much. Some of them are terrible because like they find the most weird things to try to sell. But for me, this particular estate sale that I'm most excited about was from a really good estate sale company. The other one I hit was also a really good one. Honestly, I haven't found too many bad ones, except for the ones that stick to like more the regal rich person areas where they just decide to charge you like $50 for a book or whatever, and it's like, this book's worth $2, what are you doing? So that sort of thing is something that you want to consider. Another thing though that I really wanted to focus on when I was looking for these different estate sales was how many books they had. So for me, I sell antique books, so I look at first how many books this place has. So I scroll through all the pictures on estatesales.org and estatesales.net. That's where I do most of my poking around to find estate sales. They post pictures of these different things. So I was going through and I was looking for books. And once I find a place that has a lot of books, I open up, like, you can click on the picture and it expands the picture. And once I expand the picture, I look around and I try to find the antique books that they have to see if they have any. Sometimes they have a chunk, sometimes they don't have any. I find that most people have at least 1 or 2, and with just 1 or 2 books, that can be worth your time, or it might not be. It really depends on what those books are. For me, the first estate sale I hit this past weekend, 1 book is all that I got from the first one, but that 1 book was $150 that I can sell it for, which is pretty stinking cool. And I spent $15, which is a whole lot more than I normally spend. Again, I normally spend $2, but if I'm selling it for $150 and I only spent $15, that's 10 times return. That's not terrible. So that's what I looked for initially. And then another thing that some people look for is estate sales that don't tell you where the address is until the day of, or maybe even a couple hours before. Sometimes they do a whole day before, which is what I prefer because I like planning ahead. But sometimes they aren't very nice and they decide to tell you just like 2 hours before, which makes it a big rush to get there. But when you get there, it can be some of the best sales, because a lot of times when they have really good stuff, they want to make sure no one knows where it is until the day of. That way they don't have people camping out in front. They don't have people like trying to break in, trying to contact them and be like, hey, can I buy this right now? Hey, I'm outside right now. You know, just, you don't want people annoying you if you have really good stuff. And they were able to, this particular company was able to lay off and not let anyone know until the moments before. And when I got there, I found out just why. I mean, there was some of the most amazing stuff that I've found in any estate sale, and I was all sorts of happy when I got there and was able to get all these books. Again, I got over $1,000 worth of what will be profit from these books. It could be upwards to $2,000. I haven't gone through everything again just yet. I go through it once to just buy the books, and then I go through again when I'm listing. So I'm thinking I'll have a really good haul, maybe up to $2,000. So that's pretty stinking cool for just visiting 2 places. Of course, I'm just selling these on eBay. If you sell elsewhere, you might be able to get more, although I have found that a lot of people end up getting less if they find different places. eBay seems to be the perfect place for buying and selling antique books, so that's just a little plug right there that's not really too related, but sort of is related. And there's one more thing, though, about this particular estate sale that was absolutely insane. It was the line. I've never been to an estate sale that had a line this long to get into it. So when I showed up a few minutes before it started, like maybe 10 minutes or something. So, I mean, that's pretty early. Like, if you go to estate sales normally, like around where I like to shop, which is like further away from Portland, there's normally like no one in line, or maybe 1 or 2 people in line, because you don't want to get too many people in the same building all at once. Like, you have the whole lockdown issues, but there's also the entire thing of homes are not built to have like 200 people going in, so that's sort of why you want to have a line. You don't want to have too many people or else it just gets crowded and it's terrible. And this particular place, though, I got there and there was like 150 or 200 people in line before me. Maybe just 150, but then as I started going forward in the line, I had to wait for like 50 minutes almost to get in to the estate sale. That's a long wait. I've never waited that long. But as I was going, more and more people were showing up and the line got longer and longer. So I would say in the time that I was there, and I was only there for a couple hours, I would say over 500 people went through this estate sale and were waiting in line in that whole time, which is pretty stinking huge. I've never been to one that was that big. Generally, when I go to estate sales, it's like 20 people tops, which just shows like how amazing this estate sale was it drew people from all over, and a lot of those people were other booksellers. A lot of them sold books locally to different bookstores, and they just don't have the profit in those. So these people were complaining about the prices that the estate sale was asking for, because these people were asking for $3 for a paperback, $6 for a hardcover, and these people that were reselling to other bookstores, they're like, oh no, this is so dumb, they're charging too much money, da-da-da-da-da, I can't make any money, this is so dumb, I'm so angry, da-da-da-da-da. And for me, though, being my own business owner, being my own boss, being all that sort of stuff, I had to keep all the profits that I make. I'm not selling to someone else, and that someone else gets to make money on their thing. They have to pay for other employees, they have to pay for all these other things, so they can't they can't pay as much for their stuff. Since I'm covering all this stuff myself, since I do this all in my own house, I have very, very low overhead, so my profit margin from the very beginning is going to be more than these people. But there's something beyond that. So these people, they're buying these books for, say, $6, and then like they can sell them for maybe $15. So they're like doubling their money, and that's it. That's not very good. Whereas for me, I'm buying these books for $6, and I'm selling them for $40, which was my average on the low end, and on the high end about $100 per book. So I'm selling for, say, $40, paying $6, and then I have a few dollars in expenses, so like $6 or something. So I'm making some pretty stinking good money out of all this, and all these other people are complaining because they're not doing the business right, and as much as I wanted to tell them, hey, you can do it like this, honestly, I was a little selfish in this time. I was like, I'm not going to tell you guys anything because I want to get all the money myself, because I was excited for this one, and I waited in line. Generally, I'll help other people, but on this time, no, this is mine. I'm taking all the money. So I was able to grab all these books as all the other people were glossing over the things and ignoring them and getting angry. I was making lots of money as I was grabbing all these things, because as Robert Kiyosaki says, money is made when you buy, not when you sell. So I'm buying these things for $6, and I'm going to be selling them for $40, $100, that sort of stuff. So I'm making really good money. So that's all pretty cool stuff. And yeah, I would say it was definitely worth the line as well. So that's the other thing, though, with estate sales is, you remember how I mentioned some other things in some other videos? One of the things was I mentioned how I looked at these pictures of this estate sale beforehand, and I mentioned that earlier in this video as well. Because I saw those pictures, I knew what I was coming for. I knew what I was waiting for in line for those 50 minutes, which was a complete waste of time for the people that left, because there were people that left right before they came in. Like, they literally would have waited like an hour, and then they left because they didn't want to wait any longer because they were so impatient. And for me, I was not going to leave that estate sale no matter what, because I knew what they had in there. I was stoked for it. I was so ready for it. And when I finally got in, I was able to cash out. I was able to grab all these books, and I was so stinking excited about it. And if you guys don't know what's in there, you might leave a estate sale that could be a gold mine for you. Like, if I left, I wouldn't have this $1,000 to $2,000 worth of books sitting next to me right now. I got it in a box in a bag. Not a lot of books. There's only like 50-ish, but that's a lot of revenue because these books are worth so stinking much. So I'm really stoked about all the stuff that I got. And if I left, I wouldn't have any of it, and I probably would have gone to Goodwill Outlet. So I actually went with my mom. My mom and I go on these book buying trips, and she actually got angry and left. I stayed because I was like, no, Mom, I'm staying here. I know what's in here. But she didn't pay attention to the pictures I was showing her, so she's like, no, I'm just going to Goodwill Outlet. I know I can make money there. And she got like 6 books. They're over there. And I mean, I'm not saying she got bad books, but I got some books that are like hundreds of dollars and more. And I was talking to her and I was like, hey, how much are yours? And she's like, oh, like $20 and maybe up a little bit. Actually, I got one that was $19.01, like $19.01. And it's like, yeah, that's not terrible money. I mean, personally, it's less than what I normally shoot for. But when I go to Goodwill Outlet, generally I can end up getting stuff like that because I'm paying $2 for the book. So I'm not too worried about it. But for me, I stayed at this estate sale because I knew what was here. I mean, I was getting books that were from the 1800s and have cool seals and pretty cool books, like just an indicator for just totally random thing right here. But if you can get books that have these little paper, wax paper things going on, these are something you get in really old books. Not the oldest books. It's something that sort of happened at the late 1800s, early 1900s is when I see most of them. But yeah, that's something that you want to look for when you're buying antique books. I know that was a total sidebar, but just something important. But yeah, my mom left. She missed out on going through all these books, and honestly, I'd say we both missed out because I wasn't able to go through all the books before I had to leave. If my mom helped and if she showed up for this particular estate sale, we probably could have gone through everything, and we probably could have gotten another $500 worth of books or more. Because $500 in books, when you're buying books like with this profit margin built in, the $40 plus for my average on the low end, that's going to equate to just a few books. So $500 is pretty easy. We probably could have gotten up to $1,000 more. But again, because she was more interested in doing something, she missed out. She didn't wait in line for it. And actually, she watches this channel, so sorry, Mom. I just trashed on you. But trust me, everyone else, I'm not really trashing on her. I'm just saying this is an important example. It's really important because, yes, there is an issue with having to wait around for 50 minutes. You're not making money that whole time. But once you finish the wait, you can really make out and make a lot of money. And there was a lot of people, as I said earlier, that just left and they missed out on all the money that could have been made. And something else, though, that I enjoy about when I'm waiting outside of estate sales is I get to watch everyone as they go out with all their different purchases. And I was able to watch and be like, oh, someone just got that book I wanted. Someone got those 2 books. And then I was able to watch like 50 other people that went out and didn't have anything that I was interested in. So that's something else that you might want to pay attention to when you're waiting for your estate sale, if you have to wait for one, is what everyone's taking. Because maybe it might be worth you leaving early because someone took what you wanted. Finally, though, let me just talk the prices and stuff. So as I said already, I paid $3 and $6 for these books. For paperback and hardback respectively. That's a lot more than I normally spend. I normally spend like $2 or less. So I was not very happy with how much I spent, but because of the profit margin that I was getting on these particular books, I wasn't too sad. I mean, I definitely made out and I was definitely doing a lot better than the other book resellers that were there. I was actually talking to several and they're like, oh yeah, the prices are too much. I can't make any money. And several stormed out, but I was still very happy with what I was getting. And one more thing, though, as I was going through these books and as I was talking to the other people, I was also looking around for the other books, which were the books that I showed up to this estate sale for. So there was a big old group of fiction books that were all these ones from the late 1800s, early 1900s that I was really interested in. I really wanted to get, but I didn't end up getting any of them. Why? Well, they weren't with the other books, so I didn't know where they were, and I don't like wasting time when there's a lot of other people, a lot of competition of people grabbing these books. I don't like searching around and missing an opportunity to buy all the books I can when I know that I can grab the books that I see right now. So there was a bookshelf in this place, front and center as soon as I entered, basically. So I went straight to that bookshelf and I started grabbing the books. I knew I was missing out on the fiction books, which were the reasons why I showed up to this estate sale, but I knew that I was making money as I was standing there, and I sort of like the old saying goes, a hen in hand is better than 2 in the bush. I knew that I was better off getting the hens in hand, or in this case, the books in hand. I was better grabbing all the ones I could right now that I knew I could make money on than to risk it and go try to find books that may or may not be there anymore. So once I finished grabbing a few shelves worth of books, like going through all of them and finding the ones that I really wanted, once I finished that, there was enough other people going through that shelf that I was like, the rest of the shelves, because there was like 8 of them, I was like, okay, I'm going to walk away right now. I'm going to let you guys do your thing. And I left and I tried to find those fiction books. And when I got to those fiction books, there was only one left. There used to be like 40 or so. So I was really bummed to see them all go, but I was still happy because I already had like $1,000 worth of books at that time. So it was a bummer to not get all the books that I wanted to get, but I still got a lot. So it wasn't a total loss, but it definitely was something that I was sort of bummed that I couldn't have gotten them all. And that's just sort of an issue for me when I go towards Portland, is there's too many people. Not only are there too many people, but a lot of the people are lewd, crude, and rude. And I don't like hanging out with them because, as I've said in other videos, I just hate so many things about all the things going on in Portland because it's just, they're jerks. There are a lot of jerks, and they're like self-righteous on top of that, which just makes the jerk aspect even more jerkish. Then they start shoving you around as you're trying to do your business, and it's just not very fun. So it's just sort of a joy suck for me to do it in that area. And then when I go elsewhere where there's less people and the people are nicer, I have a lot more luck getting books as well because there's less competition. So that's sort of an issue for me with doing stuff in Portland. But as I said earlier, this estate sale was so stinking amazing. It had so many amazing things. It was still worth me going to, despite all the things that I didn't like. And I know that was a very rough segue into that little section, and honestly, it was a rabbit trail. But it's definitely something that you guys might want to consider, is the people you're buying books around definitely does impact your enjoyment of this particular business. Like, if you are talking to these people and it's like walking on eggshells, maybe it's not worth going to these places. Like, I was going through all these books and people were complaining about the books the entire time. It's like, listen, I understand you don't understand the value of these things, but there's no need to complain about it the entire time. You're just annoying me at this point. You know, it's sort of like that. And then you have other people that you can talk to, and it's like, wow, you're a really cool person. I wish I could, like, adopt you. So that's just sort of another complete sidebar. So sorry about that. I have so many things I wanted to talk about for this estate sale, but I just can't squeeze in because it's not all about antique books, and this channel is all about antique books. So with all that said and done, though, guys, I want to remind you that it's always worth scouting out this estate sale beforehand. You go through all the pictures, you find what interests you, what kind of sets you can find, all that sort of stuff. And once you finish all that, figure how much time it's really worth to you. So if you can get $1,000 in an estate sale, it might be worth 10 hours of your time, because 10 hours, $1,000, that's $100 an hour. That's pretty good money. So of course, that's not guaranteed that's how much you're going to make, and you're going to put more hours in as you're listing, but that's basically some pretty good money, pretty rough math. I like to get $100 an hour for how much time I'm putting into stuff. So just a little word of the wise right there. I might dive into that a little more in another video. So if you'd like to check out other videos that I make on antique books and that whole side of the business, be sure to subscribe below. I also go on tangents about Portland all the time. So that's a nice perk if you don't like Portland. And if you did live in Portland, I'm sorry. Sorry about you living there, not about the comments. I'm joking there. And once again, though, I hope that you guys can really help me out and join the antique book business in general, because I'm here to save as many antique books as I can. Because if we're not saving them and buying them, they actually get thrown away. So that's history getting thrown away, and that's a lot of information getting thrown away. And knowledge is power, so we're throwing away power, basically. So help me out, guys. Buy all the antique books you can, resell all the ones you can, find people who love them, and be sure to watch different videos that I got linked up here, and be sure to subscribe. I'd love to have you guys in the next video.